closely, closer than you would ever really want to. What seems like a small gray lump resting on a fold of skin is alive, and it is feeding. Its body is swollen and glossy, stretched tight with blood that does not belong to it. Underneath, sunk deep into the flesh, its barbed mouthparts are locked in place like an anchor, so firmly set that the enormous animal it feeds on cannot simply shake it loose. This is a tick, and right now, across the body of a single rhinoceros, there are hundreds more just like it. A tick lives its entire life at the expense of others. It waits, sometimes for months, clinging to a blade of grass with its legs outstretched, until the warmth and breath of a passing animal tell it that a meal has arrived. Then it climbs aboard, finds a patch of soft skin, and bites down. Once it is anchored, it can feed for days, swelling from something the size of a seed into a fat, blood-heavy lump many times its original size, before dropping off to digest in peace and, in the case of a female, to lay thousands of eggs. Every one of those eggs is another tick, waiting for its own ride on the next animal to wander past. Watch one feed up close, and you begin to understand why it is so hard to be rid of. As it bites, the tick releases a mix of saliva into the wound, some of it numbing, so the host barely feels the intrusion, some of it thinning the blood so it flows more freely, and some of it hardening around the mouth parts like cement to glue the parasite in place. It is not simply resting on the skin. It has fused itself to its host, quietly and almost painlessly, and it has no intention of letting go until it is full. On its own, a single tick means almost nothing. The danger is in the numbers. A heavily infested animal can lose a startling amount of blood over a season. And worse than the blood is what the ticks carry with them, passing infection and disease from one host to the next with every bite. For a young, old, or weakened animal, a heavy burden of parasites can be the thing that finally brings it down. Few animals make a better home for them than the rhinoceros. From a distance, a rhino looks almost invulnerable, wrapped in thick, plated skin like a suit of natural armor. But that armor is exactly the problem. Where the great slabs of hide meet and fold, around the eyes, behind the ears, in the deep creases of the legs and belly, the skin becomes softer and stays warm and damp. And it is here that the ticks gather in their greatest numbers. The very folds that protect the rhino become sheltered valleys where the parasites feed undisturbed. And the rhino, for all its size and power, is almost helpless to stop them. It has no hands to pick the ticks away. It can wallow in mud and rub against rocks and termite mounds. But the parasites lodged in the folds of its skin stay exactly where they are, tucked into the one place the animal can never reach. So the rhino, like so many of the great animals, relies on help. And that help arrives on a pair of small, restless wings. A little bird with a bright red bill drops down and lands on the rhino's back as though it belongs there. This is the oxpecker, and it has come to do the one thing the rhino cannot do for itself. Gripping the thick hide with sharp claws, it works its way across the giant's body, tilting its head, searching every crease and fold. Wherever it finds a tick, it leans in, slides its flattened bill beneath the swollen body, and pulls the parasite free before swallowing it whole and moving on to the next. For the bird, the rhino is a feast that never runs empty, a living surface carrying more meals than it could ever finish. For the rhino, every tick that disappears is one less mouth draining its blood, one less wound left open to disease. Neither of them ever struck a bargain. Over countless generations, they simply became worth more to each other together than apart. The oxpecker even earns its keep in a way that has nothing to do with feeding. A rhino's eyesight is famously poor, and the bird, perched high with its sharp eyes fixed on the horizon, often notices danger long before its host does. When it senses a threat, it erupts into a harsh, hissing alarm. And in a world where the deadliest danger to a rhino now walks on two legs and carries a rifle, that early warning can be worth more than any amount of cleaning. So the next time you see a rhino standing in the sun with a small bird moving calmly across its back, remember what is really happening there. It is not decoration, and it is not chance. It is a quiet, ancient arrangement between the tiny and the enormous. A parasite feeding in the shadows of every fold, and a small guardian working to keep the giant clean, one tick at a time. The rhino may be one of the most powerful animals ever to walk the plains, but even it cannot win this war alone. Its health, and sometimes its very survival, rests in the bill of a bird small enough to hold in the palm of your hand.